Hello, everyone. Blazer of the Snap Business Podcast. Welcome to the second Snap Take of the day. We looked at the top 5 Conquest Infinity decks based on the stats earlier this morning. What we're going to do for this video is we're going to take those same 5 archetypes, and instead of just talking about what the stats are and what the stats say the most effective decks are, we're going to look at the most recent tournament. There's a Snap.fan Open this weekend, and we're going to see what the most successful version of those types were in the common tournament meta, because a single tournament meta is usually a reasonable reflection of what you will see and how a Conquest Infinity run will go. We're going to first take a look at why I think you should subscribe. Well, you should subscribe because every single weekday we bring you unique Marvel Snap content, 2 decks that no one else in Snap is usually talking about. We get you ahead of the meta before anyone else is ready. We help you get to infinite. We help you get your infinity borders. We help you achieve your goals in Marvel Snap. So we hope you find value in that and hit subscribe. In addition, we have the single biggest giveaway in Marvel Snap history for the Daken Begin Japan Season Pass. Also, look at how cool that Magneto in the corner is. I absolutely love it. We have the biggest giveaway. We are giving away, as of this recording, 6 season passes, because we're giving away 5 no matter what, and another for each 200 subscribers. We've already gotten our first 200, so tell a friend if you want more season passes to be given away. We are also giving 3 winners a Marvel Snap Zone Premium subscription, which includes free live coaching from Den, a $50 to $100 value. There's free group coaching on Marvel Snap Zone Premium right now. We have 1 grand prize of this $75 Death Becomes Her bundle, which comes with enough progression for a single Series 6 card and a really great, Series 5 card and a really great variant. And if you want to win all of these things, what you need to do, subscribe here on YouTube, hit the tweet in the description of the video, follow, like, retweet, and reply to the tweet with which content creator you'd like to see on our podcast, the Snap Judgments Podcast. We'll be recording a new episode with Paper and Father Newman later on tonight, so get ready for that. Let's go on. Educated Collins was the foundation for this. He, in this wonderful video, goes over the 15 most popular Conquest decks based on how often they were played. So I use his information for the 15 most popular decks. Thank you so much to Collins.
Hello, everybody, and welcome.
Now, these are all the decks that he checked out. If you want a further breakdown of these 15 decks, I went through the Untapped data, the Snap.fan data, and the Marvel Snap Zone data to get a good idea of what each deck's win rate was in Conquest Gold. If you want a breakdown of what I think of each of these decks and so on, please check out this morning's video. The top 5 decks we found were Thanos Control, Destroy, Sarah Control, Fury Zero, Darkhawk, with an honorable mention to Evolution Lockdown. This morning, we looked at the most popular ones, the standard. The statistics say these are the 5-6 decks to play. Cool? The statistics suggested that these were the decks to play. These are the official deck lists that, like the stats say, are best for you. Now, we're not looking at those lists again. Instead, we're looking at the ones that were successful in the Snap.fan Open this past weekend. That's this current meta. Which decks were really, really great playing in a major tournament, and what do we think of them? How will we change them? How would they play? Let's get started. What Am I is a phenomenal tournament player, one of the best players in the game, and they brought a high evolutionary lockdown deck. What they did is they removed Professor X and instead ran a Storm Legion package. In this deck, what you ultimately end up doing is you want to Cyclops 1 location on 3, Nebula a location, right? Nebula Sunspot, Misty early. Then you want to Cyclops a location on 3. On 4, you Storm another location, and then you drop Legion on top of that. That will basically close off the game at that point, where you can basically gain power on Sunspot, Nebula, and gain power with Sunspot and Nebula and Misty have Jeff that you can still play and have Cyclops removing power from the opponent's side, while Legion is just a nice big body and Storm has closed off the game. The only thing an opponent can play at that point in the entire game is Jeff. When you don't do that, you still have the standard Evo lockdown plan of Sunspot on 1, Misty on 2, Storm into Cyclops on 3, 4, Spider-Man on 5, and then Hulk. Or, if you don't see Hulk, Chavez on 6. That should still win plenty of games. This deck missed the cut basically on tiebreakers. What happened in the tournament is some people took intentional draws to guarantee themselves the cut. One of I didn't take an intentional draw or wasn't offered an intentional draw or whatever, and so missed the cut with fundamentally the same record as these people. This deck is really cool, really strong. It's one of my favorite ways to play Legion. We're going to be talking so much about Legion. I'm telling you, I'm in love with Legion. But we're going to be talking so much about Legion for the rest of this week. I've got so many cool Legion decks for you. You have no idea. Nithiel made the top 8, excuse me if I'm saying that wrong, with a Darkhawk deck. This is a standard Darkhawk list. This started as that sort of Darkhawk stature and evolved from there. It's basically running the standard Darkhawk package. The Darkhawk package is basically always Korg, Zabu, Darkhawk, and Rockslide. Very, very often, because you're running Zabu, you add Shang-Chi and Iron Lad to that combo. Here we are. Iron Lad goes unbelievably with Doom. You very rarely play Doom cold, but goes unbelievably when Iron Lad hits it. You've got Super Skrull for the matchups that necessitates. Super Skrull is especially good if your opponent's playing like a negative deck and you can get a free Wong or Iron Man, and then you can Cosmo that lane on them, but you still have access to their cards. It works. It's like hilariously powerful. Killmonger is great, especially against those Legion decks that we've been seeing, because it takes out all those ones that they're using to rack up power, but you're going to have to play that Killmonger relatively early. Jeff is just powerful and goes in everything now. People have been like in the comments like, hey, what do I do for Jeff? What do I do about Jeff? One, I think it's time to get Jeff, basically, no matter what. If you can afford to save up the caches, I don't know if anything coming out is going to be more powerful than Jeff. Yesterday's video, we looked at tournament stats, and Jeff was like a 58, 59% win rate. The card is nuts. It's super strong. Can you play the stick without Jeff? Of course you can. What would I replace Jeff with? At almost always a standard powerful 2. This deck doesn't really want Lizard, but I think it would do fine with like a Medusa. So I would probably replace it with Medusa in this deck. That's just where I would go. I think a 2/5 is powerful enough to be playing in that spot. You can also, if you have it, add Nebula, but just suggesting you add another Series 5 card is not ideal, I understand. So Nebula would be probably my pick 1, and then my pick 2. Oh, I guess you have Killmonger, so not Nebula. All right, just Medusa. Run Medusa in that spot. You can run Star-Lord if you think you know what they're going to do, but you want a good 2 drop in that spot. Cool. All right. Everything else in this deck is fairly self-explanatory. Yes, Iron Lad hitting Doom, Darkhawk, Killmonger, Zabu, Jeff, Cosmo, Shang-Chi, Super Skrull, Rockslide. Like, these are all amazing hits. You don't want it to hit America, but like, unless you get rocks in your deck, it's not likely to do so. It's just a really, really strong card. You can play the deck without Iron Lad, but now you're taking out Doom, and you're running the stature list from that previous video. So check that out. Destroying Nimrod is absent. It was played in the tournament only to no success. So instead, we're going to add 2 sleeper decks to this video. Sleeper deck number 1 is Quirgy's Legion Control. I told you I'm in love with Legion. This is my style of Legion. I don't love the High Evolutionary style. It basically says I'm going to play on 4 Storm and Miles. I'm also going to get down. I'm going to use a high tempo card like Polaris to do that, or get Lizard and Silk down, get Nebula and Sunspot down, and then I'm going to go to town. When I Legion, I'm going to have all this power on the board. There's nothing you can do about it. The game is now 5 turns. Good luck. The other game plan is obviously much more straightforward. It's basically you use Nebula and Silk to win a storm lane, and then you're using Shang-Chi, Enchantress, or Magneto to basically win another lane. You've got Miles. You've just got a lot of like mid-power things that add up to a lot of power for a lane. It's a really, really cool deck. I love this deck. Props to Quirgy. I'm going to play the crap out of this. I have a version of this I've been playing. We're going to talk about it in a video later this week. But this is where I want to be with the Legion decks. This is beautiful. The other one is Iron Patriot. I don't actually like this. I've loved Patriot, which is crazy, right? Like, I've always loved Patriot. I would make one change to this deck. This is just a successful version, the most successful version of the tournament, as I've been doing. I would keep Mystique in this deck over Luke Cage. I don't care about anything else. You basically want a Patriot, Mystique, and Ultron in this deck. You can also consider adding Wave so you can get both Onslaught and Ultron out. Iron Lad and Ultron is a little scary, so you need to be careful of it. But like, Iron Lad has too many good hits otherwise to not be in the deck. Iron Lad with Sinister, Brood, Patriot, um, or Iron Man or Blue Marvel are all incredible, or Onslaught are all incredible hits. So like, it's 100% worth having in the deck. It's a super, super, super strong card that you want to be playing, especially because 6 power means, like, if you hit a Wasp, you just made it a thing. It's totally fine, right? Patriot adds a bunch of power to the board. Blue Marvel adds power, and you win a lot of games with this. Again, I don't like these without Mystique. That's how people are playing them. I think it's wrong, even with Cosmo in the meta. I think Patriot and Mystique is too strong of a combo. I think Blue Marvel and Mystique, or Iron Man and Mystique, are also really, really good. Like, because some games you'll go like Sinister on 2, Brood on 3, Iron Lad into whatever on 4, right? Iron Lad into Onslaught on 4. And then you can Mystique that Lad, right? Like, and now if you draw Patriot or Blue Marvel, you're adding a massive, crazy amount of power to the board. It's just like auto win, even at that point. So like, you want these options. So I keep Mystique in my versions over Luke Cage. I get why Luke Cage is here. The expectation with Legion in the format is that High Evolutionary Lockdown is going to run wild, and we've seen its stats being really high. So like, I understand, just not the way I would choose to run this. Shuri Soren was also absent, but I think for a very specific reason. Replacing Shuri in the meta was double She-Hulk. Moon Girl has become what Shuri was in the meta, because the idea is that if you're trying to get a lot of power down and you've got 7 turns, playing She-Hulk is just better. This is Jeet's deck. We talked about this in a video yesterday, so like, if you haven't checked that out, please check it out. I'm not going to go over it in any great detail here. It's just a really powerful deck that does a lot of cool things, and yeah, it's just got a lot going on that works really well, and it's built specifically to counter the Thanos lockdown that we talked about this morning. The W Thanos lockdown, where Echo basically defines where you can and cannot Professor X or Devil Dinosaur or a Blue Marvel. And at that point, you're adding so much power with She-Hulk and Hulk that, like, good luck, opponent. Also, anyone who blows a Reality Stone early, then you Magic, they just feel bad, right? Like, Magic is going to give you enough turns to get more power than most other decks. Double She-Hulk, 18 power, is just crazy strong, especially when you've got Cyclops, Sunspot, and Misty taking off power elsewhere. It works real, real well. You need to check this deck out. All right, we're almost done. This deck is super cool. This is a Sarah Hawk list. I love me some Sarah Hawk list. This one looks a little bit like that W list we saw before. It's got Wave, which gives it play into everything, because when those Magic decks happen, you can wave on 5. And if you're waving on 5, like, let's say you wave in one place and drop Darkhawk in another, or wave in if you've got Sarah out on 5, you can wave and Darkhawk, you can wave and Rockslide, you can wave and Iron Lad, right? If you wave and, I don't know, if you wave just it's turn 6 and you wave and play Killmonger, wave and play Jeff, you're still like super ahead. All of these plays are great. If you get Sarah and Zebu out, your now 2 cost 4 drops are incredible, and Invisible Woman means you don't really have to worry about priority, because on the last turn of the game, let's say you want Invisible Woman, Shang, and Enchantress, right? That is, if you have Zebu and Sarah out, that is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 energy play, leaving you 2 energy, i.e. enough for a Darkhawk, an Iron Lad, a Jeff, whatever else you need. This deck is sick. This is where I want to see Sarah going. I think the version we talked about this morning is a holdover from previous meta. It's still good, but it's not as consistent. I think this is the future of Sarah. Miracle, Sarah control, where it runs Zabu and Sarah in order to get as much power as possible. Yes, Jeff is here again. Yes, Iron Lad. Yes, Darkhawk. This is an expensive deck. Yes, Zabu. I understand that. This is still one of the best Sarah decks in the game. We're talking about high-end Infinite and Infinity Border Conquest. Play this. Before we go any further, do you need Jeff in this deck? Nope, not even a little bit. If you're not playing Jeff, please feel free to add one of 10,000 cards. I'm partial to Nova here if you're not running Jeff, but it could, again, always be Medusa. Medusa is my go-to. I think Medusa is one of the most underrated and slept-on cards in the game right now. There's a reasonable argument that Cosmo could go in this deck, but I don't love it because of how many ongoings. I mean, it gives your opponent a safe play to play their big stuff, which you don't really. Oh, one more suggested change for Jeff, as I think of it, is, come on, Brain. I had a suggested change for Jeff's. I absolutely promise. Okay, my last suggested change for Jeff is Scarlet Witch. I think Scarlet Witch would do a great job at turning off opponent limbos, which keeps your Darkhawk power 2 higher. Lastly, we have the best Thanos deck in the tournament, which is not the standard Thanos control. We are back to Lockjaw. Lockjaw Thanos is a dangerous, dangerous build because when Professor X pops out of your Lockjaw, you are very, very often sad. You're hoping that doesn't happen, right? Like you're hoping to draw into your Professor X before then. You're hoping cards like Vision, Magneto, and Thanos or America pop out. If they do, you've just basically turned 1 energy into 6 or 5 energy, right? That 5-6 energy bonus is enough to win games. Shang is dangerous, Super Skull is dangerous, Professor X are dangerous. This is still crazy strong. This has always been crazy strong. People stop playing it. People play it off and on, depending on how skilled they are with it as much as anything else. It's going to work out for you. If you see Lockjaw early, it's a snap. If you see a Mind Stone early, it's a snap. You will get enough value to be able to win games of Marvel Snap. You can also still conceivably Time Stone into Professor X on turn 4. You can use Daredevil to get a safe Professor X on turn 5. And if you know where they're going to play their big thing from there, Shang-Chi can win the game. You can move a Vision over and drop a Magneto, drop a Thanos, drop an America with Vision. And that's still going to, or just play Devil Dino, right? That's still going to win you a lot of games of Marvel Snap. If they're playing Null, you've got Super Skrull. If they're playing Iron Man, you've got Super Skrull. You have options. Thanos control is super strong. It's not going anywhere in this meta. Happy to see Lockjaw back in it. I think Lockjaw is honestly a really cool card. It's probably a little overpowered, but it's really cool. All right, I hope you enjoyed this tour through the best tournament decks for Conquest. We'll be back tomorrow morning with our regular 2 decks. I got a new one from Lambie for you, and I'm going to show you one of the decks I got my Infinity ticket with. Let's show you both of the decks I got my Infinity tickets with. Have a great day. See you tomorrow for more Snap Take. Don't forget the giveaway. Subscribe. Peace.